actually say I'm glad to be back in the teaching mode again. I guess when that teaching bug gets on me here, I want to go ahead and get some out, pump out new videos or whatever the case may be. I didn't want to actually stay too far away from my teaching videos because again, that's pretty much where I get my joy. That's pretty much where I'm actually able to deliver good information and I believe good content that a lot of folks can benefit from. But like I say, I don't want to spend too much time, explaining my absences and everything. If you watch my videos, you pretty much know what I was up to. But anyway, what I want to actually do today is actually talk about, something that is kind of like odd for me. But again, when you see things and you notice things in society and everything, I feel that you have the right to speak on it. And why not speak on it? Because again, you never know, by talking about it, you can probably help someone along the way, But my whole focus today in this video is all about today's parenting skills, And, we know that in this day and time, people are becoming parents at, all types of ages. And, it doesn't even really matter anymore. It used to be where folks used to become parents at, at an acceptable age, like in their, late 20s and all this other type of stuff now. But you do have, we're living in a generation now that's different, where folks are becoming parents at, a much younger age, and like I say, is that right or wrong? Like I say, you decide. But anyway, and because of that, a lot of folks that are becoming parents, we're starting to see the fact that a lot of them are not really all that much older than their children. You know what I mean? Like I said, you don't have to go too far away to see this type of issue or this type of situation happening. I mean, like I say, with sex and how free it is and, and how freely everybody, uses it. And there's really, not really much morals in today's society as far as actually really waiting until that acceptable time. You have a lot of people that are really, becoming parents, at a much younger age. Some of them, they may like it that way, but most of the time, I believe that sometimes they really regret it that they actually became parents at such a young age that they really wish that they had have waited. But anyway, that's just me talking and thinking out loud. But I believe because of this, you have this tendency now in this day and time for parents to actually want to become, friends with their children. And the thing about it again is that that's pretty much where the preface of my video is actually, or I should say the reason for my video. You have a lot of times, where, folks are actually more interested in being the child's friend than actually being the disciplinarian that the Bible calls for. And the thing about it again is that whenever you actually get things out of order like that, whenever you deviate from the way the Bible actually tells us to do things, there's going to be problems. Whatever area in life that you're talking about, you're going to run into issues, again, if you don't follow that guide, which we call the Bible. It's not far, you don't really have to go too far actually to see this particular type of practice going into place, meaning that, you have people, that are doing videos or whatever the case may be on YouTube that are more interested, in my opinion, with being the child's or the friend of the children rather than actually being the parent, where that God requires. I actually want you to take wanted to put two different short clips of, instances where I'm coming from so you can better understand what I'm saying. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and allow those clips to play right now, if you will.
Mom, I know. Genesis, Exodus, Every time was some acceleration. Listen, I'll name all the Old Testament and New Testament right now. What? What's going on here, smart family? We're back at it with another family video. It's good to have you guys sitting with us tonight. I'm gonna enjoy some delicious Popeyes.
In those clips there, as you can plainly see, it's really kind of hard to tell who is the parent and who is the child. I mean, I'm not trying to really throw shade or anything at anyone, but like I say, this just goes to show you what I'm trying to tell you about as far as the typical behaviors of parents these days. They're more interested in actually being a friend rather than actually being the strong disciplinarian that God requires them to be. And anytime you actually lower yourself or allow yourself to step out of that role that God requires a parent to be, you're going to end up, with the house being out of order. Number one, the main thing that's going to happen really is there's not going to be really any respect. Number one, and the thing about it again, can you blame them? I mean, one thing about it again is that, and I always say, is that anytime we step away from the word of God and wanting to do our own thing, we mess things up. That's pretty much the gist of it, even in parenting. The Bible talks about a whole lot of stuff, and even parenting, there are certain skills and certain mindsets that we really know that, okay, you know what, even though some would say that parenting, is not really highlighted much in the Bible. There is a scripture in the Bible that tells us, and reminds us to train up a child in the way that they should go. So that when they get old, they won't depart from the faith or whatever the case may be. You all know how that goes. But the issue is that anytime you fail to do what God tells you to do in any area in life, and in this case, parenting, you're going to end up with a situation on your hands. And in this case, the situation that I'm referring to is really simply no respect. Again, you have a lot of folks that are actually these days that are going out there wanting to actually do the things that their children do. They want to go out there and party with them. They want to go out there and, have all, and even try to dress like a child, like dress like, like they're in their, dress like the today's, latest fashions and such. And the thing about it, God is saying, no, 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 what are you doing? You are a parent. And see, one thing about it, I will say this. A lot of folks that are parents these days, in my opinion, really don't deserve to be parents, because they're actually turning out youth that are disrespectful. They don't have no sense of self. The issue is they don't have no respect for authority. But you have to really break that back to where it actually started, in the home. When you actually teach your child and show your child that, hey, you know what, I'm more interested in being your friend than your parent, that's going to tell them, okay, now you're supposed to be my parent, older than me, I'm supposed to respect you, and you're doing the same thing that I'm doing. So not only am I going to show you disrespect, I'm going to show somebody else disrespect out there as well. Because guess what? You're teaching me, by not being that strong disciplinarian, that it's okay for me to not only disrespect you because you're now on my level and you want to actually be my friend. It's okay for me to do someone else like that, regardless of their age. And here we go. A lot of people may not, again, look at it that way, but again, it's really worth, looking at it and really seeing it, because again, these types of actions are playing out before us every day. And the thing about it again is that it's become to the point where now it's like, you really don't know really where the true parents are these days, because again, it's like people are having children, but nobody really wants to be a parent anymore. After they have a child, the first thing they want to do is go out there a week later or whatever, after dropping the baby, going out there. And the sad part about it, most of them, let's be real, most of the young folks who are having children, they're staying with their relatives, they're staying with their mom, they're staying with their grandparents or whatever. The grandparents now are having to be the babysitter for the child, for their new great-grandchild, or whatever the case may be, while the grandchild goes out partying. I mean, so like I say, this is the issue, and these are the types of results that we're having when we don't do what God says. It's just that simple. I was actually looking for evidence to kind of back up what I was saying, because I knew I was going to be wanting to do a video like this. And I actually ran across a very interesting article, that states pretty much, what happens is in the sense of, when, parents actually fail to really be the strong disciplinarian that God calls for them to be. And the sad part about it is that this article was actually straight on and really down. It was on to the point of everything that I'm actually talking about thus far in this video. It says that parents who fail to exert authority breeding youngsters with no respect for anyone. So like I said, here we go again. Everything that I'm saying is really not of my really opinion. It's pretty much fact, really. And the reason why I say that is because other folks are seeing it. Not only are they seeing it, they're doing news or making articles about it. One thing about it again is that respect, and actually the foundation of what it takes to be a strong household now, is really being attacked. And the reason why I say that is because we have strong influences that are coming in from every which way of life, that are coming in and infiltrating the minds of the parents. And now, guess what? Now you have a warped mind trying to raise children. And the sad part about it again is that it's attacking not only the foundation of the household, but as the article states, you're breeding now a whole new generation of trouble. Like I say, there is really no more strong parenting in this day and time, because every time you want a parent to actually stand up and be a parent, there are again always outside influences that are preventing the parent from actually exerting their authority according to the Bible. Now, the Bible tells us to spare the rod means to spoil the child. And the thing about it again is that, you have a lot of them that really don't even believe in disciplining their children. They believe that, have a simple timeout. That should help, that should teach you or whatever the case may be. And the sad part about it, what really irks me is that when you sit there and listen to parents say that, and they say it in front of the child is sitting over there grinning as if, they really understand what's going on. And a lot of them, they have a lot of sense. They do understand what's going on. They're saying here, I can do whatever I want. The only thing she's going to tell me to do, or he going to tell me to do, mom and dad meaning, are they going to tell me to do is just to sit in a corner. Like that's going to really do anything. And the sad part about it as well is that you have a lot of these young folks that they're very sneaky. They know how to get things done. The minute that they actually go to the parent, one parent tells them no, they automatically go to the other parent and actually see and bring the same situation to the other parent and seeing what they're going to say by being more convincing and doing this emotional intelligence. Yeah, children are very smart these days. I don't really put nothing past them. They'll go into that role of being, trying to use emotion to try to win over the other party. Next thing you know, the house is divided now because one parent said no and the other parent said yes. So now you're having this battle, and now all in the back, the child is sitting back there grinning because he pretty much knows that he or she is going to benefit from this. That's the type of evil that we actually have going on in the household these days. This is the type of mess that is going on. And really, to tell you the truth, it's becoming a very big issue. Folks don't like to actually talk about what goes on in their house, and again, I can understand that because what goes on in your house is your business. But the thing about it, again, is that what's going on in the house, you don't really have to tell me anything because I can see what's going on in the house by how pretty much the child acts when they actually leave the house and actually goes, and calls themselves being a productive citizen out in society. And the thing about it, that may hold true, but I'm not saying that's the norm for every household. But the majority of the stuff that's going on, you can tell that, a child may come from a dysfunctional family or a parent that is, quote unquote, too easy. Because next thing you know, they are very disrespectful. They, again, don't know how to respond to authority. They will do everything they can to actually exercise their right to say that I'm going to get what I want when I want. And you can't tell me, any different. I'm going to do exactly what I want. And the thing about it, you can tell that is, again, a product of being in a household where, again, parents were not very strict in their parenting. Like I say, again, you're raising little monsters. You're raising little narcissistic monsters. And like I say, and the thing about it too is that, and what really gets me, I look at the deeper things, and I have to admit, I do look at deeper things, and really sometimes it can really irk some people, but hey, to know me is to love me. That's all that I can say. But I sometimes look at parent, videos and stuff, and I'm sitting up there looking at these children. Now you got parents that are busting their behinds, busting their backside, trying to, as they say, make a better life for the child. And the child is very, they are unfazed by it. They figure that they are entitled to certain situations and certain resources and such. And the thing about it, one of those main things that they feel that they're entitled to is different things as far as the technology is concerned. I cannot tell you how many times I've sat there and watched school grade children, preteens, if you will, sporting the newest iPhone and all of these other latest Gallic techs and, technology and all this other type of stuff. I'm like, here I am, a full-time job, barely able to really afford a decent phone or whatever the case may be. If I do get one, I have to really save up for it. Like I say, but you actually have parents that they don't want to see little Billy or little Susie sad and everything. They will actually go in their pocket and spend money and drop money on an object that is like 3 times their normal paycheck or whatever the case may be, just so the child can be happy. I'm trying to tell you, this is getting to be like an epidemic. It's really beginning to be a big problem. And like I say, nobody wants to address that elephant in the room. But guess what? I'm going to do it because I really don't care. Like I say, I'm not on here to be liked by anyone. I'm on here to give you the word of God. And according to his Bible, his precepts, and nothing else. I'm leaving my personal opinions out, but I'm basically telling you what I see, what's going on in society. And I guarantee you that is something that really should not be. And the sad part about it, they don't even know pretty much how to really appreciate anything. Because again, the minute that you get these things to them, they figure that, okay, you use it a little while. A month later, they're bored. They're wanting something newer. So it's like, okay, now you really have recreated an issue. And the sad part about it is God said, if you would put your foot down and let them know that just because they ask for it, that don't mean that they're going to get it. That means that you're teaching them that, hey, this is life. And with life, you're not going to always get what you want. Life has a way of teaching you lessons. And the thing about it, the sad part about it, it also has a way of teaching these young parents lessons as well by giving in to everything that their child wants. Guess what? They're gonna cause you to cry later in life, if you know what I mean. That's why I say, I just sit there and I look and I listen and, I don't really say much, and it's just crazy. It really is. Because again, this is the type of situations that we're dealing with. And this is the type of generations that we're dealing with. And the thing about it again is that we've heard, many preachers and teachers talk about it, and we've heard many type of, people say things. And the thing about it again, it's like no one really wants to, as they say, speak on it because they are afraid that, they won't be liked by anyone. They're afraid that their popularity is going to dwindle, this, that, and the other. It is what it is, but we have to understand, we have to go on and still tell them what thus saith the Lord in regards to any situation. Now, to actually go on and actually move this into a different area or subsection of the video, we have, again, going back to the main thing that I talked about earlier as far as the, older folks wanting to blend in. We have a new generation now of different things going on where you have a lot of, the older folks wanting to, I guess, recapture their youth, if you will. And the thing about it, it's like they seem like they're in competition. You have a lot of parents that are dating folks who are calling themselves seeing folks who are the same age as their children. And I said, oh my God, I said, you have got to be kidding me. And I'm like, you mean to tell me that there are people out there who actually are, I guess, they want to recapture their youth that bad that they will actually, in a sense, try to see if they can date or quote unquote talk to someone who is really the same age as their children. And like I said, we see it all the time. And the thing about it is that it has become a part of the norm, and the thing about it again is that, when we see it, we have, and again, we have our little snarks and sayings that we say behind closed doors regarding that. Like I say, even I find myself on occasion saying things that, but like I say, we're human. God doesn't dwell with us always, and I have to go back and repent and ask God to forgive me. But you cannot deny what you see, folks. You can't deny what you see. And the thing about it is that, you see this and you laugh because you're trying to figure out, okay, what is going on here? Somebody feels out of place. So they figure that in order to get back in place, they got to get back to really what they feel is important to them. And the thing about it again is that there's no denying what youth and beauty brings to, to the table. And the thing about it again is that, it's all about wanting to recapture, your youth. I mean, like I say, and the thing about it, society has really taught us something. And the things that society is teaching us, it's really quite bothersome. It really, in a sense, shouldn't. But like I say, it's kind of hard when your mind is already carnal. One thing about it, and I will always say, is that God says his ways are not our ways, neither his thoughts our thoughts. So really, the thing about it is that we're fighting against something that God says is very beautiful. Getting older, there's nothing wrong with getting older. As a matter of fact, there's nothing that you can do about it. And the thing about it, again, you have a lot of people that may just sit there and look at themselves in the mirror and not really appreciate what's before them because they're looking at what society says, is beautiful. And like I say, this is not a video about, appreciating yourself and such like that, but this does have a tie-in to what's going on here, whether it's directly or indirectly. We have a lot of, again, parents that are really wanting to blend in because they really, with their children and their peers, because they really want to fit in. They really want to relive their youth, if you will. Like I say, and some of it could be understandable, but a lot of it is just due to the fact of irrational thinking, in my opinion. But again, society has actually taught us that, we need to do everything we can to fight back the aging process, from dyeing our hair to the type of clothes that we wear, to pretty much a whole bunch of other things, even to the type of people that we socialize with. I personally believe that as you get older, you're supposed to get wiser. Notice I said you're supposed to be, because we have a lot of people right now in this day and time that are what I call old fools. Because in fact, they haven't really, or I should say they really know what's, that God requires them to act their age. But the issue is they just refuse to. You have a lot of people that are sitting out there that are still trying to be in the in crowd. And the thing about it, I'm learning every day. And it took a while because, again, nobody likes to feel rejection. But like I say, when you actually go through life and you experience things, you appreciate that type of time in life. And the thing about a lot of folks, and I even have, older folks, my grandparents and everything, they sit up there and they are very wise folks. They sit down and talk to me, and I ask them, I say, sometimes I'm like, do you miss being young? And they tell me, no, because again, I enjoyed that time of my life. It was something that I made the most of it, but like I say, those days are gone now. I'm having to appreciate and really move up to a different area in life, and make the most of what I have now. And see, when they talk to me like that, I'm like, you know what? I'm glad that I'm actually, a part of their seed. I'm glad that they actually, are able to talk to me that way and not talk foolishly. Because again, they are actually able to be, the human beings that God required them to be. And they actually know that, being young, is only is only a phase in life. And the thing about it, again, that's when I can appreciate and really understand and really rock with the wisdom that they actually, speak. But like I said, to delve further into the issue, again, why are folks afraid to get old? I mean, there's nothing wrong with it per se, especially when you're actually parenting and such. And I understand that at some case and point, you have to, to really, in a sense, I wouldn't say transform yourself, but sometimes you have to really kind of put the fact that you are old aside and really get to the child on a level that they can understand. But the issue is that why is it, that people are afraid of, of aging? And the thing about it, again, as I previously noted, it's not really understanding the true purpose of being older biblically. One thing that God says in the Word of God is that He calls the older because they are wise. And the thing about it, again, here we go again. It wasn't too long ago that I was doing a little series on wisdom, and all that it entails and such. But the thing about it, again, all that He wants from the older folks is to be wise. That's all He wants. Wisdom. Wisdom comes from actually experiencing things, being around for a while, so you can actually pass on what you have learned from in your youth to today's folks, these young folks who really think that they know everything. And the thing about it, again, is that when I sit up there and see a younger person disrespect an old person, that really makes my skin crawl. It really does. And the thing about it, I pray for them. I begin to pray. Because the thing about it, again, is that these older folks are telling these young folks a whole bunch of good stuff. And I would say not long after they tell them that, they end up in jail or end up being shot. We're talking about issues now where we're talking about gun control and gun reform and such like that. But yet still, these folks figure that they know everything and don't want to listen to someone when they tell them, hey, leave that alone. It's not really worth trying to prove your manhood or your womanhood. Just leave the situation alone. It'll die out. It'll fizzle out. No, I got to go and talk to such and such. They done sit up there and disrespected me and stuff. Just saying stupid stuff. And like I say, I'm not going to jump in front of you and stop you, especially if I don't know you and I'm just only just giving you just standard wisdom. I'm not going to jump in and stop you from doing anything that you feel you want to do. You go right ahead. I'll be waiting to read about you in the newspaper the next day. That's the way that I see it. I am not fixing to sit there and waste wisdom on someone who is adamant that they don't need it. And that's what we're running into these days with these young folks. They don't want to listen to anybody because, number one, they've been raised in a household coming from parents who were more interested in being their friend than being a parent. So they figure that, okay, now not only can I disrespect my parents, I can disrespect anybody who comes up and try to tells me anything. And see, this is the problem, what we're running into. They feel that they can actually disrespect anybody, the words or whatever, the wisdom. They feel that they don't need it anymore. They figure that it's not useful, so it doesn't matter who tries to tell them anything. Hey, I can do whatever I want to do because I'm grown. And I hear that a lot too. I'm grown. Well, you know what? Nobody is grown in the eyesight of God. As a matter of fact, He says that we are all as little children. But like I say, nobody wants to be humble anymore. Everybody feels that, hey, you know what? I got a little experience under my belt, especially when it comes to sex. You have these young folks that are at younger ages having sex. They figure that they are grown and can tell you everything. But like I say, that's a subject for another video. But anyway, that's pretty much what it is that, for the most part, it comes from them not understanding their true purpose as far as being older biblically. Like I say, the only purpose, again, for the older folks, the only use for them really is to be informational. And a lot of these older folks really looking at this and they're really tossing that aside because they really, again, want to be accepted by the younger crowd. But see, what the younger crowd doesn't understand is that what they're doing is no different from what was done decades ago. The only difference is that it's a newer environment. It may be a little more to it, but it's still basically the grandfathers of the same situations of what happened decades ago. And see, the thing about it, the older folks are supposed to know this, and they should be prepared and able to explain this to let them know that what you're doing is no different than what I have done. But this is how I got out. This is what it took for me to get to where I am now. Like I say, we need more older folks that are willing to do that. The second purpose, as far as where the fear comes from, as far as getting old, is, you're trying to compete. Like I mentioned earlier before, you have a lot of folks, parents, bachelors or whatever the case may be, they're wanting to recapture their youth. They're actually dating folks who are actually the ages of their children. I don't know how that's, I personally don't see how that would make them feel. But like I say, from a male standpoint, I've heard things, I've talked to people, and it kind of makes them feel as if, they are reliving their youth. They're in their 20s again and such like that. And the thing about it, again, there's a double standard. We already know in America where, when you have a older man dating a younger woman, we already pretty much know that, and we assume that it's because the younger woman is a gold digger, especially if the older fella, has accumulated a lot of things in life, and it's very stable, meaning he has his own home, his own car, bank accounts and stuff like that. So, but the issue is that, they're trying to compete. And who are they trying to compete with? The younger dudes who are around the same age as that younger girl, and the thing about it again is that when you try to do things and try to act in ways that are not according to what the Bible says, you look like a fool. You stand out like a sore thumb. And folks don't really understand that. But like I say, again, I believe that the fear comes from, again, being rejected. And the thing about it again is that God will show you. He will speak to folks and tell them, look, I didn't call you to do this. I didn't call you to do that. You're still trying to really be an equal to the carnal, when I called you to be spiritual and to be informational. So I'm going to have to show you that the people who you're trying to compete and actually get to accept you don't want to have anything to do with you. If anything, they're looking at you as a clown. He will actually sometimes have you walk in on a conversation where folks are talking about you to let you know how stupid you look. That's why I've learned, and it has happened to a lot of folks, and even actually and the thing about it can be an eye opener to let you know that, what, I need to start acting my age. I need to cut out all this foolishness. Life is too short. Lives are being taken. People are dying like flies every day. It's time that I get about my Father's business and be the person that He calls me to be. And even when you get older, to be that sounding board for these lost youth of today. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. The last point that I actually wanted to bring across is, again, where does the fear come from? It's a societal view of your self-worth. A lot of society actually paints the picture that once you get old, you're worthless. You don't really have any purpose anymore. You've lived your life. You need to just sit in your rocker chair and just wait to die. And that's just giving the honest truth. But the thing about it again is that I thank God because if I was to listen to what the world says as far as my worth, I would be depressed for days. Actually, I would be depressed for the rest of my life. Because again, the world is not concerned about your soul. The world is not concerned about your being. The world is not concerned about anything but, its own. As far as its customs, as far as its practices and everything else. As far as you as an individual, especially if you're an older person, it doesn't care anything about you. If anything, it hates you because you don't want to think like it. And like I say, God says, in the New Testament, that, the world hates Christ. So basically it hated His Son. So if you're trying to live like Christ, the world is automatically hate you. So why do you have a lot of older folks that are still trying to be friends with the world and its customs and such like that, but yet still trying to have and be on the same standing with the spiritual? There is no comparison. You can't have both, and a lot of folks still are having a hard time understanding and grasping that concept. But what we have to understand, and like I said, I'm getting ready to wrap this video up, but, there's a process that we are going through. You know what I mean? Like I say, no one stays young forever. I mean, it would be nice if that was the case. Thank you, Adam and Eve. But, we have to be able to understand and know what our purpose is. The older folks, we're there to actually, to lend, to be there, to be that sounding board of wisdom, and if you, of course, you have children, you have to be that disciplinarian to let them know that, hey, you know what? I'm in charge. God blessed me with you. He entrusted me with you to raise you up according to the principles and the standards of the Bible. Now, that's not to say that once you get older, you know, as you say, that you won't actually do your own thing. As a matter of fact, you will. I promise you. Because again, you know, as you get older, you want to experience different things. You know, and you go through different phases, and you know, and the same people that you actually once had respect for, you begin to judge them. That's how that cycle goes, you know, and that's how children do. They are there, you know, when the parents are raising them. Once they get in middle school, they get with their little peers and everything, and they're telling them different things. Then they go back and judge what their peers said against what their parents saying, and guess what? The peers win. It's a normal process, and it's one of those, as we call, growing pains. But sometimes, again, you have to still, not sometimes, you always still have to be there to be that strong disciplinarian to let the folks know that, hey, you know what, you can't do that. And my last part about it that is, I really believe is the theme of this, is that, again, in order to get respect, you have to give it. That goes both ways. Like I say, you know, a lot of folks these days figure that, you know what, I demand respect. You can't demand respect when you're actually out there actually doing things that are disrespectful. Not only to who you are as a person, but to the fact of the matter that you're actually having to raise a child. Again, I'm showing you that, first of all, I'm going out there wanting to finger pop, drink liquor, go around and sleep around with the same and do the same thing that my child is doing, but yet still I want them to respect me as the disciplinarian. It's not going to happen. So in order for the young folks or the children to respect the parents also have to be cognizant and understand of the example that they're setting for their young. Okay, more videos will be coming real soon, teaching videos. Be on the lookout. Love you guys. Peace out.